Hey everybody. I've been getting a lot of questions about nested fractions, so I thought I would work some for you and try to make my thinking apparent by babbling to myself while you listen. Let's take a look at this first problem. Which expression is equal to 2/3 minus 2 over x all over x minus 3 over x? So the easiest way, I guess, we say here, assume x is not equal to 0 and x is not equal to 3. And the reason they have these warnings here is x is not equal to 0 because if we had a 0 in the denominator, either of these denominators, that would be 0. But if this denominator becomes a 0, then the whole problem becomes undefined. You can never have a fraction with the denominator as 0. And the same kind of thing is going on here with the x is not equal to 3. If x was equal to 3, we would wind up with a 0 in the fraction. So just consider this a way of saying this is not a trick question. There is a solution, there is an answer you can find, and you just have to find it. So let's take a look. Let's rewrite this in a way that, in an equivalent way, okay? So I always like to look at this, this big fraction bar. So we're basically dividing the top part by the bottom part, and that's true of all fractions. So let's write out this expression a different way. 2 over 3 minus 2 over x. This is just part of the analytical process. We're dividing this by x minus 3 over x. Okay, so we're going to work on the left side first. We have to subtract one fraction from another. And as I'm always saying in class, the only way you can subtract or add anything in math is if things are the same. Something has to be similar. You have to have the terms have to be like terms. And for fractions, we need to have the same denominator. So how do we make a same denominator with a fraction? So the easiest way is to multiply the denominators by each other. So we're going to multiply, let's do this in a separate color. We're going to multiply 2/3 by this x. So we're going to go, if we multiply the top and the bottom by x, we'll be good. 2x over 3x. And on this side, we're going to multiply this fraction by 3. So we'll have 3 times 2. And then 3 times x. So now they have the same denominator, 3x, 3 times x. So we can rewrite this as 2x over 3x minus 6 over 3x. And this kind of fraction, when the denominators are the same, right now they're written separately, but we can write them all together like this, just 2x minus 6 all over 3x. Oops. Okay. My pen won't work down there in the answer area. 2x minus 6 all over 3x. Okay. So we may have to factor that down a little bit more. We'll take another look at that in a second. Let me erase this. And let's look at the right side now. But this is good right now. So we are dividing by this fraction, and division of fractions is always performed by you invert the fraction and multiply. So we're going to invert this fraction. That means the denominator becomes the numerator and the numerator becomes the denominator, and that becomes x over x minus 3. So now we put in a multiplication symbol. Oops. Let's see. I have to erase that manually. I can't use Control Z to back out. So 2x minus 6 over 3x times x over x minus 3. Now, if you've been doing your factoring problems, you'll see we have x minus 3 over here. And generally, when you have a problem like this, you're going to be able to cross cancel something. And so this particular problem requires a little bit of vision. You have to be able to look at 2x minus 6 and imagine how you might factor this down into something else. And let me write this over here, 2x minus 6. We can actually factor out x minus 3 from this, right? So we can factor out a 2 and we'll be left with x minus 3. So that we can rewrite this as 2 times x minus 3. And that's the really hard part. That's the tricky part, is being able to look at 2x minus 6 and see, oh, if I factor it, I will get a common term with this. So we're going to write this top fraction. Let me just erase that, see if this works. We're going to put in 2 times, oops, not that way, we're not. We're going to put in 2 times x minus 3. And you can see here, if you distribute the 2 over the x and the 3, you'll get 2x minus 6, which is exactly what we had to begin with. So now we have x minus 3 on the top and x minus 3 on the bottom. So these will cancel each other out, becoming 1. And then we also have an x here in the top and an x here in the bottom, and they'll cancel each other out, leaving 2 over 3. And if that's one of our options, then I think we're all done. We got it. Cool.